Okay, tonight I just thought I'd do something a little bit different. Going to try and keep this video relatively quick, but it's always difficult for me. Been staring at the computer all night booking accommodation for an upcoming USA trip, so I'm kind of keen to get off this computer. But what I wanted to do is had a few requests to show how I looked for some of the trade opportunities that I mentioned on Twitter and in the charts, and so I thought I'd actually just run through how I would go about things in the morning, or part of it at least, because it's going to take way longer than 10 minutes. But anyway, before I start, there's the XJO. Retesting's 4700. It's closed right on 4700 tonight, so it'll be very interesting to see how we behave tomorrow. Tomorrow will hopefully give us a little bit of an idea whether 4700 is going to hold and bounce, or whether we're in for a little bit more pain or not. But what I'd first do in the morning is just flick over to Market Watch. That's what I usually do when I first get up. Check what the Dow's done. Nasdaq, they've got some pretty quick intraday charts, gold, oil, and so on. So have a quick look there, get a feel for what the market's done. Obviously this was from Tuesday night, and then get an idea from that as to what sort of bias I want to put on my scans. Obviously if the markets are down 200 or 300 points, there's not a lot of point looking for good looking charts, because they're probably nothing's going to be that strong early. But I'll have a look there. That's marketwatch.com. Then I'll pop over to Kitco Gold. There's a 24-hour gold chart just there. That's a three-day 20 gold chart, I think. Sorry. So we can see gold. The most recent one's a green line, so it goes blue, red, green. So it's dipped fairly significantly yesterday, but it's fairly steady since. Hasn't given a lot back at all. And then I'll go to Kitco Metals, which is kitcometals.com, and have a look over here at copper, nickel, aluminium, zinc, etc., and just get a bit of a feel for what the metals are doing. I'll also have a look at the Australian dollar and see where that's at. So that's what I'll basically look at to get a feel for what sort of bias. But let's assume it's an average sort of night. One of the scans I'll run, and I'll run several depending on, again, what those conditions were overnight, but I'm going to show you a simple price and volume scan. And this basically says today's close was greater than the previous close, volume was greater than the previous volume multiplied by 1.1, so I'm looking for 10% more volume than the day before. Volume multiplied by close is greater than 75,000, so I'm just trying to keep the really small, thinly traded stocks out of there. It closed higher than its open, and this one here says it's closed greater than. Rather than explain what this formula is, it's just saying that it needs to have closed in the top third of the candle. So we don't want stuff that is run hard but then close in the bottom third of the candle. So that's what that scan says. I run it across the entire market, and I'll press start scanning, and that will run and pick up some stocks. Now these in my charting program, which is F-Charts Pro, it sorts it into big, mid, small, and tiny depending on market cap. So for the sake of this exercise, I'm going to look at the small caps. It often is where you get some of the more volatile stocks. Now I'm going to flick through these, and if some catch my interest, I'll just sort of suggest what I'd do and take it from there. This is the volume here, which is quite important to me. That's a stochastic down the bottom here. I don't really use them, but a lot of people do. Okay, so AAG, pretty stiff res here the last 4 or so days at 28, so I'd probably set an alert at 28.5. That's AEE. It certainly, the chart looks alright, but it's probably not something that I'd chase now. It looks like it's run a little hard, so I'll flick through these. Again, really strong res here that it's testing at 9.5 under that 10-cent tick change. So I'd probably rather than set an alert that's most likely to go off if this gaps breaks this on open, I'd pull that into an active watch list and be watching that on open. BPH broke recent res on good volume today. Another one I'd pull into that watch list. BUI through 10 cents and on 10.5 cent res again. That's a stock I don't trade very well. It always seems to dump on me, so I'd probably leave that one. But I mean, that's just a personal. There's a swing in cap, break of recent tight range. Probably set an alert at that res there, which it's hit twice. So these are very simple. CQT, I'd pull that in a close watch. That chart looks quite good. It's just broken some recent reses, and so on. I'm not going to, I won't mention every one of these, but I'd flick through these charts. Tight range play like that one, I'd set an alert at the high of that bar there, which is 3.5 cents. I'll keep flicking. ENK, that's a nice looking chart. Broke that res today on some decent volume, so I'd be watching that one tomorrow. Really good volume in this one, ETE, over the last few days, and on 14 cent res, so again I'll be looking at that. So I'll keep flicking through these charts. EVG, I've mentioned several times, I'm on EVG. Sold a little today at 12 cents, but has held up really, really well. And so on. So I'd click through all of these stocks, set alerts where I felt I should. IBG broke some stiff recent res, has res back here as well at 30, hit 29.5 today, so I'd probably set an alert at 29.5 there. LRF's probably run a little hard for me now. I'd like to see a pullback. MHM, one I've mentioned a couple of times as well. The swing seems to be shaping quite nicely. Even in the strong dip we had this afternoon, it didn't really seem to be able to dip too much. So $1.30 is definitely the key for this one at the moment, but I'm still holding and really like the look of that chart, especially if we can break that $1.30. And so on. I'd keep flicking through these. As they strike my interest, I'd either pull them into my close watch list or set an alert. That one there would probably set an alert on this high of this bar here, which is 71, so it's only a cent away. So it's really simple price and volume, support and resistance sort of plays. There's one that's obviously very strong today. I'd probably keep an eye on that to see if it gaps and runs again, check if there's any news. NMG ran hard today. I'd set an alert at the top of the high of today. I think NUP's a uranium play from memory. One that obviously hasn't run yet, so I'd probably set an alert just up here in case it does start to take off in the next few days. A little bit of volume kicking in today, and so on. Some good volume there on NYO. OYM, a nice breakout. So I'd flick through these, obviously a little slower possibly than what I'm doing now. PBD, I actually got a few of these as reported, and is on very stiff 12.5 resistance there. Nice swing in PNR. Rog looks like a bit of a swing shaping. Probably the safe entry would be a break of 3.2 up here, so I'd set an alert at 3.2 and look for some volume to kick in. The stochastics look like they're crossing as well, so a few ducks lining up there. And so on SLV, a swing on good res. So there's like this, as you can see here, there's 48 stocks came up. On a really strong day you could get 80 or 90 stocks come up, and this is just in the small stocks, so there's a lot to get through. But I'd keep going through there. There's a nice chart, SSN, testing this 6.4 res several times, 6.5 res there as well, so I'd probably set a 6.5 alert, maybe 6.6 to give it a chance. Another tight range here, UXC with really strong 51 cent res, probably set an alert 51.5 just in case that res goes. If I feel like it's one that I might want to hit a little early, then I'll pull that into that close watch list again. WGP very strong today. I think that had news. I'm not sure. And so yeah, so there's an example of a price and volume scan and how I'd go about it. From there, like I said, I'd go into my trading platform, into WebIris or whatever you use, and set the alerts based on all of those. I would run other scans as well. I try to look at the top 300 ASX stocks every morning, just to check those individual stocks, because they tend to be the more liquid stocks, and I try to keep a feel for what most of them are doing. And I'll run some scans looking for swing lows or possibly swing highs if I think the market's getting a little bit overheated. Mention a few that are sort of starting to look a little vertical. FMG was one that I went short today. Market US futures seem to be holding up at the moment, so I wouldn't be surprised to see a bounce if US futures don't tank tonight. Some of the uranium stocks were starting to look a little bit overheated. Paladin was one. EXT was another. A couple that I've got some small shorts in, but certainly won't give them much space if they bounce hard, and only looking for the scalp. But yeah, there's an example of how I'd look for stocks in the morning. Thanks.